And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Stables Media. I'm Taylor Phillips along with Ed Smith. This is the weekly discussion for October 11th, 2021. My opening statement, both the Michigan Wolverines and Michigan State Spartans football teams are in the top 10 of the college football AP Top 25 rankings poll because they are undefeated. Forget the Lions in the NFL. Plus, we got a top story to cover. Ed, what's your opening statement?
My opening statement, if I were to provide one for this week, is while you feel immense joy for what the Wolverines, what the Spartans have accomplished, there's no inexcusable way that you can't not feel some type of sorrow for the Lions. And frankly, with the reaction that we've seen to Dan Campbell's press conference, you wonder if that's going to cause the support to grow or fade. Time is still yet to be seen on that one.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it'll do anything at all, but we'll get to that later. Before we get started, this show is sponsored by the Vegas Sports mobile app where great fans cover. Use the hashtag #GreatFansCover to support the app. Download it from the Apple App Store or Google Play. Sign up and type in the referral code STABLES with a capital S and the rest of the letters being lowercase, including the letter B in the middle, as in billionaire. Also, a shout out to Cali Tickets for sponsoring what was the Detroit Sports Rag when it used to. Visit CaliTickets.com or call 877-225-8425 to purchase tickets to a featured event. First off our top story, Kevin Johnson of USA Today writes in a headline, Department of Justice reviewing decision not to prosecute former FBI agents in botched Larry Nassar investigation. So it goes like this. The Justice Department is reconsidering its decision not to prosecute former FBI agents in the botched investigation of the disgraced former USA gymnastics physician Larry Nassar, Dr. Larry Nassar, that is, convicted of sexually abusing young athletes in his care. Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco told a Senate committee Tuesday, less than a month after four elite gymnasts provided wrenching testimony of the FBI's failure to act on their allegations against Nassar, Monaco said new information had emerged in the investigation and Justice's initial decision to decline prosecution against two agents, just two, including the former special agent in charge of the FBI's Indianapolis division, is being re-examined. Monaco told the Senate Judiciary Committee, quote, there is a sense of urgency and gravity for this, unquote. In July, Justice's Inspector General released a stinging 119-page report that found Indianapolis FBI officials made false statements and failed to respond for months to early allegations that allowed Nassar to abuse dozens of additional victims. So that's the end of that article. That didn't take long. So, Ed, chickens are coming home to roost on this one in the near future.
Yeah, it would seem to be so. I think, frankly, after the testimony that we heard in front of Congress, from the likes of Simone Biles, Michaela Maroney, Allie Raisman, the fourth young woman, her name escapes me at the moment. But I think the reaction to that helped, that helped with others in terms of helping bring about new information and coming forward. Other aspects of that part of the investigation, not to mention to the reaction of the boy, I'm all over the place tonight. My apologies. To the revelations about how there was inept failure in the department to not see the warning signs coming. Or at least to put a stop to it, especially when, for example, Allie Raisman, I believe, it was either Raisman or Maroney who, came forward, voiced their experience of what happened to them, and it was a very nonchalant response that they'd gotten from agents in response to that. So, absolutely, this is an absolute just decision, and I think the fact that the FBI director himself, Christopher Wray, gave a public and adamant apology to those women in that room, and basically not just to them, but also symbolically to everyone else who was affected by that monster Nassar. This could be the domino sign of, okay, this is what they mean about accountability. They will get to the bottom of this. And frankly, yeah, I would have no problem at all if any of the people or persons involved in this were charged to the full extent of law because of their inaction. I can't say action because they didn't act. More people were victimized and were permanently scarred as a result of this. So yes, absolutely, they should pay for this. To what extent, that's still yet to be seen. But I absolutely applaud the DOJ for doing this. This is the right decision.
Yeah, it should be too. So we're going to wait on the updates on those two FBI agents being caught in the near future, which they will be, and then we'll get like an update on their sentences and whatnot. We'll stay on top of it. So now to college football. The Michigan Wolverines held on to beat the Nebraska Cornhuskers in a barn burner, 32-29, and they take the bye week thereafter. Let's analyze this game, of course. It was a defensive slugfest in the first half, but Michigan led 13-0, I believe, at halftime. And Nebraska tried to come back. They took the lead, but Michigan took the lead back, and then it was tied. And then the play of the game, forcing the fumble after what looked to be a first down for Nebraska. And Michigan, Jake Moody nailed the game-winning field goal, and then Nebraska went 3 and out. Michigan sealed it, even though that was some kind of unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on fourth down, but that didn't mean nothing. That didn't mean anything. Michigan kept the ball anyway, and they won. So Ed, Blake Corum did his thing, and Cornelius Johnson pinched in a little bit. The floor is yours on this one. Oh, crap. Yep, Ed will be back here soon. So, Pistons. Yeah, we apologize for the delay. So, again, the Michigan Wolverines still undefeated. Yeah, I lost Ed Smith here. Hopefully, nothing serious happened. Damn it. Yeah, for those watching, we apologize. We lost Ed Smith. So, Brad Hawkins, the play of the game, like I said before. Oh, there we go.
Okay, my apologies if you couldn't hear me. I was calling myself trying to multitask, and I guess my phone wouldn't let me do that. Having issues with my laptop, so I can't properly load up my other notes. But anyway, from my best recollection, the Wolverines, in terms of their running game, it was nice to see the running game coming alive once again. Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins being the duo, the thunder and lightning duo that the Wolverines, I think, had envisioned for the long haul. You saw that in its best capacity in this one on Saturday night. You saw Corum chipping away before finally breaking off key runs. I think one of them was that touchdown that was in the fourth quarter when the Wolverines really needed it. A good response to what Nebraska with their momentum. And Hassan Haskins, the way he was powering through the tackles, especially in those goal line situations, getting himself 2 touchdowns as a result, and even showing off his best Le'Veon Bell impersonation with a big hurdle on another big run, which was also in the fourth quarter as well. So those two were an integral part of what the offense being able to put up the points that they did. yes, you would like to see more instances of, the team settling for more touchdowns instead of field goals. But frankly, you can argue that they actually got that done had it not been for the use of replay, which was in both instances the right call was made. Haskins was down at on one of those plays where the ball was not in the right spot, and McNamara, unfortunately, there was alignment stepping on his leg or not, he was down before he could hand the ball off to Haskins on the other. So
His knee was down, yeah.
yeah, but incidental, they were still showing they had the ability to produce and finish off drives. They just need to be more consistent with it. So that was good on the offense's part there. I really thought that Cade McNamara, yes, he had his difficulties, and definitely for sure was it late in the third quarter where he finally threw his first interception of the season. That, of course, led to Nebraska taking the lead, which, again, served both multiple things. It allowed the Wolverines to now deal with adversity because this was the first time the entire season that they had trailed at any point during the game. So I like that they had gotten that experience of, okay, how can this team respond to such a critical error, and B, be able to work from behind, especially in a hostile environment? Because let's be honest, I think you can agree with me on this one, Taylor. The atmosphere and the scenery that was in Nebraska was far different than what we saw at Camp Randall with Wisconsin. Maybe it was a night game. I don't know what it was, but that crowd was into that game the entire way.
It was a night game.
Yeah. I know it was a night game. I don't know if that helped in terms of setting up the atmosphere. That was the difference why compared to what we saw at Wisconsin, because the fans of Wisconsin, they were pretty rowdy, but it did not matter to the Wolverines. This one, though, I think you can see it affected them because there were multiple pre-snap penalties on the offense, a little bit of miscommunication, I think, what helped led to that interception. And, again, the fact that they were able to work past that and work through that and come behind shows a lot about their mettle, their will, their character, and it shows what this team can be made of. Like, okay, they're not exactly front runners per se, where if you show a little bit of pressure on them, they crack. No, they can actually punch you back and do more than that and do more than enough to win if need be. So it's good to know that they have that capability within them. I thought McNamara, despite the errors that he still had a tremendous night, being able to throw the deep ball when it was possible. I get why you need to put in J.J. McCarthy in certain situations, in certain plays, such as if you need him to get a run, because frankly, he's much more nimble, much more mobile than McNamara. It's plainly obvious whenever you do the comparison on both guys running. So Harbaugh's got to find a way to manage that carefully so that way it doesn't be seen as a quarterback controversy situation. I know there are critics of McNamara that think, okay, well, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's been so terrible. I get that, but guess what? Whether it's the defense helping him out or him being a game manager in terms of not providing the critical mistakes and errors like turnovers, and we'll get to that in terms of about another certain quarterback who plays football in this state in just a moment for proper fair comparison. But the fact that he's able to do his role well, not turn the ball over, keep his team in the game, and guess what? They're still winning games. Yeah, I wouldn't be doing a quarterback change either. Now, it would be different if he was playing really badly and the team was losing as a result. Then I could see that, especially when you compare it to how good J.J. McCarthy can throw the ball in addition to his athletic run skills. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I got no problems with McNamara still as a starting QB. And the defense, yeah, there's some issues that still trouble me. I think Dax Hill is the only good to great person out of that whole entire secondary. And we saw that in terms of him getting that interception, which was absolutely amazing in terms of how he was able to deflect it up and it bounced right back down to him. And of course, the pass breakup on that fourth down at the end of the game, which sealed it. So he's building up his stock very nicely. And we know what the defensive line can do, especially with Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo as well. But I will say, though, if you want to give credit to someone else on that defense, Brad Hawkins deserves the utmost credit because he essentially won that game for Michigan by forcing that fumble. Because let's be honest, even though Michigan had done a great job taking a 13-0 lead, momentum was starting to slowly but surely walking back towards Nebraska. It culminated in that big, turnaround in the third quarter where they got the interception, turned into a touchdown, got a 2-point conversion. Speaking of the 2-point conversion, I get why Harbaugh did it because you wanted to establish that 2-touchdown lead. I just think he should have waited a little bit longer. I think he did that too soon because, as you see, it led to the dramatic nail-biting situation of, man, what are you going to do? You could have had this much amount to do instead of this much in terms of point differential. But it still worked out in the end because Jake Moody, being the stud that he's been this season, he's only had one miss, I believe, or whatever the case that is. But other than that, he's been solid, rock solid, making kicks when you need to make them. Yes, they're chip shots, but still, it is not particularly easy under any circumstance or situation to be nailing, especially when it comes to a clutch situation where you're down by 3, you need to tie it up, or you need to go ahead and it's late in the game and the crowd is all on you, trying to be as loud as possible. It is not easy to be making those kind of kicks at all. So kudos to Jake Moody having a strong enough resolve to clear all that mechanism out and hit those kicks. And special teams, again, it plays into the special teams doing their job. Yes, they almost had a mistake with the muff punt, but they were able to recover. And I thought that early on they had done a good job as well by playing field position when it was at the low scoring aspect of the game. But when your kicker is making 3-4 kicks, including the game tying and game winning kick as well in the fourth quarter, yeah, he deserves a game ball, as does Brad Hawkins for making that play, which was incredible because, like I mentioned before, with the momentum Nebraska was on, Adrian Martinez was looking to drive that ball down the field and get this team in a position to win. And when Brad Hawkins came up there and literally ripped the ball away from him, that was the, oh my God, I can't believe what just happened moment. But it worked in the opposite for us because usually we have seen plays like this happen before where it leads to Michigan losing a game, or we've seen games like this where Michigan chokes or doesn't pull it off in the end. So I guarantee you I was not the only Wolverine fan watching that game that had this, nervous moments of trepidation, like, oh my God, they're really going to blow this, aren't they? Especially after the 13-0 lead, because we've seen the script before. We have seen it countless times, especially in the Harbaugh era, where big game moments, they failed to step up when it mattered most. But in this one, no, they held their own. They didn't panic. They followed through. They responded. They scored response touchdown drives. They got the ball back on a crucial key turnover, and they hit the damn field goal to win it. And their defense did not give up, did not have a breakdown in the last drive of the game, which, again, we will get to in a moment with regards to the Lions. So for Michigan, hell of a win. You're 6-0. You're in the top 10. Your big goals and even bigger goals still are ahead of you. And with the fact that now you have a bye this week and then the week after you have Northwestern, you essentially have 2 weeks to get yourself ready for now your next biggest game of the year, which is Michigan State. So well-earned win, well-earned bye week, and we go on from there.
Less than 3 weeks away. I can't freaking wait. So Michigan, like we mentioned before, has their bye week next. Now to the Michigan State Spartans. They take care of the Rutgers Scarlet Knights at Pascoe, New Jersey, 31-13. Jalen Naylor, 3 touchdown catches all in the first half, and then that long 90-something yard touchdown run by Kenneth Walker up the middle. Up yours, Rutgers. Michigan State gets their revenge. They take on Indiana next, but let's recap and analyze that win over Rutgers, Ed.
Oh, my goodness. To me, this was arguably their most impressive win of the season when you consider the fact that this was the same Rutgers team that beat them last year. I believe it was in, Bill Tucker's first game as coach of the Spartans. So a little bit of payback for them on that regard. And also, I got to say this. In regards to Michigan State's offense, they may have found their triplets. And those who may not know what I'm talking about, that goes, it's like a reference to how the Dallas Cowboys, the Cowboy dynasty in the 90s, they had their 3 biggest stars on the offense, Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin. They were known as the triplets, right? Well, in here with Michigan State, obviously, I'm not comparing them to those three legends, but in terms of for the Spartans and their system and how they operate with the team, they have found their triplets. Peyton Thorne has been more than acceptable. He's been flat out borderline great in some instances, and we really saw it come to fruition and shine in this game against Rutgers. Kenneth Walker, we know what he can produce and what he has been producing all year long. To me, he should be, if he keeps this up, he should be a dark horse Heisman candidate. That's just my opinion. I'm a Michigan fan saying that. And of course, you mentioned the 94-yard touchdown run he had. It was impeccable. First, he had the speed to get out to the edge. Then he had the acceleration to keep on going, and enough strength to not be brought down, to shed tackles, and have the right vision to just keep it on marching down the field. And that essentially that broke the game for Michigan State as far as I'm concerned. And of course, Jeremy Naylor, who has basically had his breakout game in this one. It was mentioned on the telecast that he is a former track star. I don't know if he currently does any track and field at MSU, kind of like a Santana Moss situation when Moss did that for when he played in Miami. He could play wide receiver and play track. Or Denard Robinson situation, because I think Denard did a little bit of track as well when he, at least at the early part of his Michigan career. But I digress. That track star speed was on display because he was breaking away almost at will from the Rutgers secondary. And if I'm Michigan and I'm schemating myself and I'm game planning, I'm going to have my hands full, especially with regards to knowing that you have a wideout that has breakaway speed almost at will. You have a running back who is nimble enough, but also strong enough to where he's not going to get brought down easily. And you have a quarterback that, frankly, as much as I like how McNamara has looked in terms of how he did against Wisconsin and did against Nebraska, Peyton Thorne has been more consistent than K. McNamara this whole season. I don't think that's a hot take or anything. I think that's just straight up fact. So knowing that you have a more consistent offensive engine motoring along better than what your offense has done. Now, I know Michigan, their identity, they want to pound the ball, they want to run the ball, but MSU, they're going to scout that. They're going to try to stuff the box as much as possible. And I think Michigan's going to do the same thing because they know how good Kenneth Walker is. So that match, I really am looking forward to that because there are matchups and X factors that are very intriguing to look at and dissect, but we can get to that once game week arrives. But in terms of what Michigan State did here, in this game against Rutgers, their defense did a tremendous job of limiting and stifling Vedral and that Rutgers offense because there was a chance where there was some momentum going on, and I think there was a turnover or something where it was 13-7. Rutgers was getting ready to take the lead, and they got held to a field goal, and that was that. They only got one more field goal after that, and they were done in terms of scoring points the rest of the day. So great job by the Spartan defense, not only containing Vedral, but shutting him down the rest of the way. They did a far better job of stifling him the way compared to what Michigan could not do, where it took a last-minute fumble drive at the end of the game to put that game away, whereas MSU, they put this game away midway through the third. Between Thorne's efficiency, Naylor's game-changing ability, and Kenneth Walker's, frankly, for that matter, MSU now has an offense that can run in tandem with their stingy defense. And to me, that should make them a problem potentially for the rest of the Big Ten East Division. Still, we got to see how they do against Penn State. I believe Penn State and Ohio State and, of course, Michigan. But to me, I would be mindful of having them as an underrated as possible because they could be a team that could potentially sneak in and play spoiler to these other teams that I mentioned, and they could be the ones in Indianapolis at the end of the year playing against the Hawkeyes for the Big Ten title, not just a chance to win the Big Ten championship, but since MSU was slowly but surely making their own way, now they're number 10th in the AP top 25, where Michigan's number 8, and Ohio State is in the top 10 as well. If MSU can pull off these wins, knock off these other teams, I think Penn State is still there, but barely as well. If they can pull off these wins and knock off Iowa, my God, could we potentially be seeing MSU as a playoff team potentially in only year 2 of Mel Tucker's tenure? It's a chance. It's a remote chance, I think. But again, we got to see how they do against their other big games of the year. And they really shouldn't be looking forward too much to that because they still got to take care of business first against Indiana.
Yep, and we'll get to Indiana in just a second. The poll rankings update AP. Michigan at 8th, Michigan State at 10th because Alabama got upset by Texas A&M and dropped to 5th. And Michigan and Michigan State just keep working their way up, don't they?
Yeah, it seems likely with the way knowing how that top 10 at the very least it's been stacked with Big Ten teams, particularly majority of the Big Ten East and Iowa. It would not be. I'll be shocked if the Big Ten champion, whoever it is out that group, I'll be shocked if they're not one of those 4 playoff teams.
Yeah. Now the Hoosiers. Spartans at Hoosiers Saturday at noon on Big Ten Network. Let's analyze and give our scoring prediction brought to you by Viget. Ed, we'll take it away.
All right. To me, this is as trap game as you will ever get because for MSU, after this, it is the bye week and then finally the clash against Michigan. But to me, I do not look forward. I do not look ahead. I do not look past this team in any capacity because they have shown, especially against Harbaugh's Wolverines, they can be a real pain in the ass to get rid of. So, and for us, the Spartans know that full well because they got beat by them last year. Shut out, in fact, 24-0 at home. So this is a chance to get a little bit of payback on their regard. As long as they, for one, take care of the ball, because when they played them last year, they had 4 turnovers that obviously played a big role in them losing that game. So taking care of the ball is a must. You got to make sure to continue the momentum that you had from the Rutgers game in terms of your offense producing, because after that dreadful performance against Nebraska, where they literally needed an act of God between Jaden Reed's kick return and then the defense getting an interception in overtime, the offense has been rolling for like 2 straight games now against Western Kentucky and now here against Rutgers. So if they can keep that up against Indiana, it would give them a significant morale boost heading into the game against Michigan. So taking care of the ball, continuing your offensive production by finishing drives, be as efficient as possible, and do not overlook this opponent because this has all the makings of a trap game. And not as too much an extent that Northwestern could be for Michigan, because that's still a bit of a trap game, and especially coming off a bye. But you should not be overlooking this team at all because they can be sneaky and hard to get rid of. So that being said, my bigger predicted score, I'm going to say Michigan State, because the spread at this moment is like 3, and I can see why, even though Indiana has looked quite inferior in terms of the teams that they faced, in terms of top competition that they faced, some of the teams that they played this year. I think they played, Cincinnati, Penn State, another one escapes me at the moment. But yeah, they played 3 ranked teams. They've lost all of them, and they've looked quite dodgy in regards to all 3 of those games. But I still wouldn't overlook them, and they may be up and ready to play for this one, especially it's at home. So knowing that, my bigger predicted score is going to be MSU 28 and the Hoosiers 24.
All right, 28-24. I'm going to go Michigan State 34 and Indiana 27. That's my Viget scoring prediction. So that's enough college football. To the NFL, the Lions lose to the Minnesota Vikings 19-17 at US Bank Stadium on a game-winning 54-yard field goal by, I think it was Corey Joseph, but he hit the game-winning 54-yard field goal as time expired. But yeah, the Lions took the lead on a touchdown on a 2-point conversion with 37 seconds left. DeAndre Swift and then the touchdown, and then Hodge, the 2-point conversion catch at the back of the end zone. But the Vikings drove down the field. Kirk Cousins threw two or three deep passes. The Lions were rushing 3, and their cornerbacks and safeties were leaving the Vikings receivers wide open. And that's the confusing part. Just absolutely being lazy on defense in the dying seconds of the game, and just letting the Vikings beat the Lions. Now some would just see that in heartbreaking fashion when they don't watch the entire game closely like I did. Now, yeah, this was like in week 3 against the Baltimore Ravens when Lamar Jackson fed Sammy Watkins for a 36-yard touchdown pass near midfield, and Justin Tucker, the 66-yarder off the crossbar and through to win it for Baltimore. But for Minnesota, 54 yards. Joseph is not Tucker, but even he drilled it down the middle. The defense overall, other than giving up that final winning drive, did a heck of a job. Jared Goff just absolutely was garbage.
He was dreadful.
Turned the ball over.
He was horrible.
Yep.
He was other words that I really wish I could say, but I can't on these airwaves at the moment.
I know, right? But that's why they're getting him to use a playbook after that. So
yeah, I'll get to that in a moment. But in terms of let's break down this game as best as we possibly can. The defense, like you mentioned, was as good as they possibly can. I think it also helps that Dalvin Cook was unavailable for this game, so we didn't really get to see that porous run defense get tested because the Vikings' best, arguably their best player, was unavailable. So in terms of what they had throughout the course of the game up until that point, holding that Vikings team to 16 points, they more than gave their team a chance to win. It's just that their offense, for the large part of the game, was completely and utterly inept. It also didn't help that Quinton Cephas, who has been a reliable target for Jared Goff this year, he went down with a shoulder injury. So I don't know how long he's going to be out, but he's
likely out for the season.
Oh, my God. Another one. And we just lost Romeo Quara to an Achilles. God. So between all that and Hawkinson has been dinged up as well. But even still, I don't know how you don't seem to find a way to get him more involved. Now, I will say as a caveat that the other teams know that he's your best receiving option. So they're going to do their best to game plan to take him out of the game. And knowing that your receiving core outside of Hawkinson is absolute dog doo-doo, and they're going to try to stop the box to stop the run. It puts you in a situation okay, they're daring Jared Goff to beat you with his arm. And knowing that full damn well that he really is seemingly unable of throwing a football more than 20 yards down the field, you have nothing to worry about. Like I mentioned K. McNamara earlier, I would trust him by throwing a deep ball down the field before I trust Jared Goff because I've seen him do it. And as pertains to Jared Goff, this is now his 6th fumble in the first 5 games of the season. Listen, I know he's called Baby Hands Goff for a reason, but my God, man, just can you not figure out a way to hang on to the friggin' football? Forget about throwing bad interceptions or making bad reads or whatever. Can you just hang on to the damn ball? That's all we ask, and whether it be the fumbles, the bad recognition the bad recognition on reads, similarly not being able to find a viable third option, or the constant checkdowns to let you know that he is no threat to you at all in terms of throwing it over the top compared to, say, a Matthew Stafford, for instance. Between all that, it's like, oh my, it's fairly painful and frustrating to watch this guy take snaps under center week in and week out. And I said this last week after the Bears game. I'm going to say it again this week. I would call Cam Newton. I mean, I get it that you don't want to probably contact the Texans after, with the situation they have with Deshaun Watson, but why not call Cam Newton? Because I almost want to say put David Blau in, but I don't know if that'll be a remedy or just continuance of the problem. Because frankly, this is just beyond frustrating. This is one reason why you're 0-5 right now. It's not all on the defense. It's not all on coaching. It's called your quarterback has been absolutely dreadful. And if you have poor quarterback play in this league, in this day and age, you're not going to win football games. So I don't know what the long-term end game is, but if this keeps happening week in and week out, and we see fans get more agitated, and if we see and hear more boos come out, especially as pertains to how Jared Goff performs, to me, your Lions, you got to make some type of move. Potentially, you got to look into potentially figure out what to do at the quarterback spot, whether it be in the draft or in free agency. I don't think you're going to trade Jared Goff by any stretch of the imagination. Not to mention what it could do in terms of cap money or dead cap money to your cap salary. But you got to find a way to figure that out. And I know this upcoming draft, at least, it's not really up to the brim with QB prospects. So now that's another issue we got to kick further down, kick the can down the road type of deal. But man, that is one area of improvement that is drastically needs addressing in the worst way. It needed that before Stafford left in terms of finding a quality, suitable backup. Now it's abundantly clear even more after watching 5 games of Jared Goff. God, we need an upgrade at the QB position, and badly. But we'll see how they do in that regards. The defense, I mentioned the defense holding the Vikings to the amount of points that they had. How about to credit to Jeremy Reeves-Maben doing his best Brad Hawkins impersonation, because him getting that fumble was the catalyst for the Lions being in the position to win that game, because that felt like a holy crap, we really had no business winning this, but we're about getting ready to escape. Just like the game against Baltimore, and then just like the game against Baltimore, the defense, or particularly the secondary, had a brain fart again, which you would think if they're bringing only 3 guys on the line, which means they're dropping back an extra guy to help out in the secondary, how are you still letting these passes go through? So if that's the case, then you might as well just bring 4 guys and trust that they can get through and cause the pressure and disruption, because this is the second time in 3 weeks that we've seen, frankly, a game that we should have won slip through our hands because our defense couldn't get a damn stop when it mattered most. And you can argue that the Bears game was winnable as well, but again, poor play by your quarterback and poor play by the offense in general derailed any hopes of that. So all that said, it is, wow, dreadful to say the least, and agonizing. And man, we're only 5 weeks in. We still have a full 2/3 of this season left to go. Oh boy, it's. I knew this season was going to be a rough one to watch, but I had no idea it was going to get this rough this fast, and I don't think Dan Campbell knew either.
Right. Yeah, but 264 passing yards for the Minnesota Vikings out of 384 total yards for Minnesota. The secondary defense still needs work. So if your secondary defense is still trash, then what's the point of even rushing 3 if you're Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I mean, I know people want to criticize Campbell for rushing 3, but Aaron Glenn deserves some culpability in that as well. Whether he agrees with that or he doesn't offer a different option, or
both.
or both, because you literally saw this happen to you against Baltimore. So why would you not learn from that and try to do something different? Put a 4th guy on there,
or 5th.
Try to bring some pressure. The force.
Bring a blitz.
And you live and die with that. But don't do the same damn thing that cost you before. So, and the lose once again on the last second field goal. What is it with the Lions and losing on last second field goals? Okay, this even goes.
They
back
do this to themselves.
It's
simple.
It even goes back to Tom Dempsey in the Saints in the 60s. Like, my God, we've seen literal decades of this. Paul Edinger in 2000, which helped led into the Matt Millen era. You notice with me, with my tortured history of Lions fandom, just the fact that I can instantly just name drop these moments out of nowhere speaks to the levels of how much I've suffered, and pretty sure others have suffered watching this team for so many years. But hey, it comes with the territory. It comes with the job at this point. So knowing that and having seen this, I wasn't surprised at all to see Dan Campbell, frankly, break down the way he did emotionally at that press conference. I appreciate the fact that no one made fun of him for it, as compared to what the sound bites that we saw, in the off season. And we saw a real sense of sympathy.
Yeah, the biting the knee cap off. Yeah, that means nothing.
Yeah, but in essence, though, that meant we saw some of that aggression, because what? Campbell made the decision. He knew the second he got that ball back, when we score this ball, we're going for 2. because he knew, listen, this is a game we had no business winning. Let's just get the 2
worked.
points. Yeah, and it worked. That's the main thing. So I don't think you notice. I doubt anybody at all was criticizing or would be criticizing Dan Campbell for going to 2, because look at how this team had performed the entire game, and look how they were able to, turn it around the fourth quarter. Yeah, you go for a net situation. And to see it happen again, I think it speaks to Dan Campbell, because let's not forget, he's a former player himself. He's not that far removed from retirement. So he is as close to me a player's coach as you can possibly think of when you say or think about that terminology.
In fact, it's his first season as head coach in the NFL.
Exactly. I mean, to take away the part that he was the interim coach for a little while when he was with the Dolphins, but still, this is his true, full-blown first experience on this type of road. So all these ventures and everything, it's a new experience for him. And at times it can be overwhelming. And I think we saw that on display. And I think if there's one thing you can appreciate about Dan Campbell, he's going to be honest with you. He's not going to BS you. He's not going to be, he's not going to be like Patricia or Caldwell in terms of keeping things to the vest. No, he's going to wear his heart on his sleeve. He's going to let you know what's right, what's not right. And I think that will endear him, obviously, to the fans, obviously to the city, but most importantly, that's going to endear him to his players, because it shows, hey, this is a guy who cares. This is a guy who wants to see me succeed. And this is a guy that I have no problem playing for. We did not see any of that or hear of any of that whatsoever when Patricia was here. And to see that shift from that.
Caldwell.
Yeah. Well, a little bit. No, I can agree. I think there was a little bit of that. We saw that a little bit of Caldwell, definitely with Schwartz, because Schwartz was that firecracker of a personality. But in terms of Campbell, it's a complete 180 for Patricia. And seeing that, it can motivate a team. But the fact still remains, the way this roster was set up over the years by Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, they still have their work cut out for them. So the vigor is there, the heart is right, but the talent is not. The roster is not built to match the enthusiasm of what the coach GM wants to exuberate at the moment. But it's getting there. The effort was there. They did not give up when it was looking bleak once again, and they still fought their asses off. They tried to make it as competitive a game as possible. And frankly, they should have won it, but you still got to play 60 minutes, not 59 and a half or 59 and 40, a full 60 minutes. They did not get it done in those last 30 seconds. And at the end of the day, that's what led to them losing. So they still have things to figure out, things to improve upon, and it's going to take time. But, it's a progress. It's a process. That's why they have, Campbell and Holmes got those 6-year contracts, because they know this is going to be a very deep and long process.
Right. What they do need in the secondary is a veteran presence too. Any other star talent that I see other than Richard Sherman? There's a name for you.
No, Sherman's already snatched up by the Bucks. So, to me, if I was going to be looking secondary, I would be looking more towards the draft. And no, I would not be using a top 3 pick or top 5 pick on a damn corner. Thank you. Oh my God, I had to relive Jeff Okudah again. But I wouldn't have no problem in terms of knowing the draft picks that we're going to get from the Rams as a result of the Stafford deal. Why not use one of those to trade back up into the first round to get a guy in the secondary? Or if you're lucky, you don't have to let him fall to you in the early second round and then swap him up there. So that could be a possibility as well, to where you don't have to waste a draft pick and still fill in a need at the same time.
Yeah, I would say that's an option too. Got to keep your eyes open. Look for other free agents, even if they're not stars, that could still get the job done.
I'm just saying, Dax Hill could be a steal, but that's just me.
Yeah, Dax Hill. There you go. Anyone.
Like
Dax Hill included.
Like Tracy Walker, he's decent. I think he'd be probably better in as a safety as opposed to being one of the corners. Melifonwu was making progress. Unfortunately, he got hurt, so that derailed his progress. And of course, like you mentioned, Okudah is done for the year with his Achilles. So if you were to add in a Dax Hill and had him in the mix with a Tracy Walker and a Melifonwu, that shows that you're getting better. You're making improvements where you need to, but it's still not a full progress yet. So I don't mind. I wouldn't mind if they went that route at the very least, because it shows that they're trying to improve one big weakness of their team.
Yeah, which is their secondary in my eyes, and now at quarterback as well with Jared Goff. So Lions play at home against the Cincinnati Bengals. That's a tough one. Back at home at Ford Field Sunday at 1 on Fox. So I think the Bengals are going to win this one, but we'll have to prove it with analysis and our scoring predictions sponsored by Viget. Ed, go ahead.
Yeah, if there was one X factor that would concern me is seeing how Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have already established. Excuse me, 1 second.
Close the window. Yep. Apologies. All right. So, yeah, Lions and Bengals.
Yeah, as I was saying, with seeing Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase establish their connection, which frankly goes back to their days in college at LSU, that would be worrisome if I were the Lions, especially knowing the secondary that I have. And if I can't cause pressure or get to Burrow fast enough with my front four, then it's going to be a long day for my secondary. So that's one aspect and one X factor to look at. I want to see how Penei Sewell does in this one, because he had a bit of a rough game. Everson Griffin got him pretty good here in this one, including on back-to-back plays where he sat Goff back-to-back and caused the fumble on one of those. So for Sewell, will be a chance for him to have his bounce-back game. The crowd, I think, should be as supportive as they possibly can, especially in reaction to Dan Campbell's press conference. They should have that same vigorous energy within them to at least give this team a chance with their support, because I thought we saw that happen quite well in the game against Baltimore. They need to keep up that same energy here for this one, but it's tough when you have a team that's 0-5. So that is a task that could be easier said than done. If I'm the Lions, I would need to look forward towards finding some way to get TJ Hockenson involved. I don't care if teams are going to scheme or try to game plan to get them double cover, whatever. Adjust to that. It's called coaching. You got to find a way. It's like a chess match or like in boxing. If the team is counterpunching you, you got to find a way to counterpunch them back. So I need to be getting TJ Hockenson involved as much as possible, especially when you have receivers dying by the minute with injuries or inefficiencies, and you have a quarterback that, frankly, outside of throwing to Hockenson, does not have much of a comfort level throwing to anyone else, aside from Khalif Raymond, and until he got hurt, Cephas, but that was it. Like we mentioned earlier, but we'll get into more now here with the Lions trying to readjust or redesign the playbook, whatever. Yeah, you should. And knowing that you can get good performances and good production from your running backs, you may have to establish the run more. You may be forced to establish the run more because your quarterback is not putting you in a good enough position to win games. I'm sorry, but that's just the case. And this is where you could use Hockenson as that extra run blocker, for example, to it can help spring some good runs from Jamal Williams or for DeAndre Swift. And knowing that you want this to be a bounce back game for Sewell, hey, have him be as great of an asset, but using his run blocking. I think this will be a very keen game for the Lions to try and reestablish the run. And if they were to do that, they could be in a good position to win this game. But until I can see or trust that secondary can make enough stops against that Bengals offense, or at least particularly against Jamar Chase, it's hard to pick this one, because to me, this may be the only winnable game that the Lions have from now until Thanksgiving, because their next opponents at this, they got Stafford and the Rams on Thanksgiving. I believe they have the Steelers after that, and I'm missing one more team. I think it's the Saints. I could be wrong, but in any event, this is to me, the most winnable game they have from now until Thanksgiving against the Bears. So that being said, Yeah, I just don't trust that secondary. My Vigor predicted score is going to be Cincy. Let's go Cincy 31, Detroit 27. Taylor, I think you're a little bit frozen at the moment. Hello? All right, guys, seems we're having technical difficulties across the board here. I do apologize for that. Give us one moment, please. Again, let me apologize. Just got a word from Taylor. His computer had a slight issue, but he's taking care of that as quickly as possible. We'll be back with you momentarily.
Okay.
All right, are we back?
Yep. Yeah, we're back.
Okay, this is gonna take a lot of editing in the post, but
Yeah,
don't.
my apologies.
Yeah, I don't see you, but I can at least hear you.
Yeah, hang on a second. All right. So yeah, you were analyzing the Lions and Bengals. Yeah, just give it your scoring prediction.
Yeah, my bigger predicted score is 31-27 Cincinnati.
Hey, Ed, are you still there? Ed?
Yeah, I'm here. And you're dead again. Okay.
One second here.
Boy, this is just going to go into the Hall of Fame of if this was a Howard Stern production. Or Scott
Okay,
the
hang on a
engineer
minute.
when you need him.
I got it.
We're good?
Can you hear me now? Yep, good.
I can
All
hear you
right.
loud and clear. I just want to get this thing done.
All right, yep. So what was your Viget scoring prediction again?
Cincinnati 31, Detroit 27.
Oh, close one. Oh, man, yeah. I'm going to go Bengals. I'm going to go Bengals 34 and the Lions 21 on this one. So, yeah, you already gave your analysis. So let's go ahead and get to the Pistons real quickly. The Pistons, of course, hired Ben Wallace as a scout. Now they promoted him to basketball. Now they promoted him to basketball operations and team management advisor. So, man, Ben Wallace deserving all the credit for his due diligences on the court. Are you still there?
Yeah, it is. We touched on this briefly, but still, yeah, I can echo those sentiments exactly. Absolute congrats to Big Ben.
Yep. And then Cade Cunningham still out with a slight right ankle sprain. He's still out in preseason action, but George Blaha said he'll be back soon.
They'll probably get a couple games in before the regular season starts, so there's still time.
Yeah, true. And then the Red Wings season preview, 2000. The Red Wings they cut Bobby Ryan from his PTO, and Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider make the cut, and Luke Witkowski was sent to Grand Rapids to play for the Griffins. So,
well, I think in terms of Bobby Ryan, at least, in terms of the Bobby Ryan, at least, they have themselves admitted, like, due to roster limitations, they had to make this move because everything else checks out about how they feel about Robbie as a player and as a person to their team. So I'm sure this was a very difficult decision to make, but I think Eisenman had made a statement that might allude to the fact that there could be a chance. I don't know if it's before this season starts or maybe at some point during the season, if they have the opportunity, they'll try to bring him back into the fold on the roster. But yeah, unfortunate, but you can only have so many guys on the roster.
Yeah, true. So they're not going to make the playoffs, but they're on the rise. So let's get to our What We've Learned segment. What I've learned, I keep seeing people that are fans of Urinating Tree on Twitter coddling the Lions, obviously, when they don't watch what's going on in their games. They just blame God for hating them and bad luck BS, and I get so sick of it that I'm trying to convince Tree and his followers and fans otherwise. They won't listen. God doesn't hate the Lions. God has nothing to do with them. Stop slinging his name into this. So that's it. I've been done with the Lions since 2015. I'll continue to be done with them until they are sold to someone like Jeff Bezos. Ed, what did you learn?
What I've learned for this week is the Lions may have a very distinct chance of doing something that I never thought was even possible, even before this year, as being the first team to potentially have 2 seasons in their franchise history where they go completely winless. And not to mention, this is the first year that we go 17 games. So wouldn't it be something if the Lions, who were the first team to ever go 0-16, how about if they top that? They say, hey, you know what, Cleveland, you took our shine by going 0-16. Screw that. We're taking our shine back. We're going to one-up you and go 0-17. That would be quite remarkable, but, and also sad. But that's just one aspect to look at because it seems quite fitting, right? The year that we finally move on from Matthew Stafford, then we go completely winless. So that's just one storyline to look at and one aspect I've learned. But in all seriousness, what I've learned is that Dan Campbell is someone who I would have no problem rooting for to absolutely succeed as Lions head coach. I just not going to give him the proper amount of time, patience, and enough roster help to where you can make a more proper and fair evaluation as his tenure progresses.
Yep, and that's what we've learned. So, yeah, we can definitely wrap this up now. I got to defrag my computer afterwards. Before we go, this show is sponsored by the Viget Sports mobile app, where great fans cover. Use the hashtag #GreatFansCover to support the Viget Sports mobile app. Download it from the Apple App Store or Google Play. Sign up and type in the referral code STABLES for Stables Media. Also, a shout out to Cali Tickets for sponsoring what was the Detroit Sports Rag. Jeff Moss says he's retired from the DSR. The DSR is now dead, he says. But visit CaliTickets.com or call 877-225-8425 to purchase tickets to a featured event. That's 877-225-8425. The DSR is now officially called the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast, now formerly known as the Detroit Sports Rag. I'm Taylor Phillips. Follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips. Follow Ed Smith on Twitter and Instagram at EdSmith313. And follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Michigan_Truth. Like it on Facebook as the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Follow it on LinkedIn. Our next episode, next Sunday, Frank makes his return to join us. Until then, for Ed, I'm Taylor. TTFN, ta-ta for now. Power to the people, Hin on the Hind. We rest our case. Stay out of trouble. Thanks for watching, listening, downloading, and sharing.